Welcome to Linear Compositions. Let's get started. The essential question we want to be able to answer is, how do we compose linear functions? So when we're composing two functions, we're composing linear functions, right? Composition is putting something together, making something, and we're using linear functions in this example. So we'll be putting two or more linear equations together to form a new function. So the first thing I want to talk about is how you'll pronounce the notation. Okay, if we have f of x and g of x and h of x, right? These are all functions. When we compose the functions, we're going to end up with something that looks like this, and we'll go over it, right? So the g of x is inside the x of the f of x. And the way you would say something that looks like this would be f of g of x, right? Same thing if you had multiple. So if we had an h and then a g and then an f. So what that is the f of x is in the x of the g, and all of that is in the x of the h, right? So we're not worried about how to do it yet. Okay, we'll learn that, but I just want you to be able to say it. So this would be h of g of f of x. Okay, so you kind of go like this, h of g of f of x, f of g of x. All right, so now that you've got the pronunciation down, let's go ahead and do an example. All right, so here we want to find g of f of x. I will always work from the inside out, okay? I go from the middle. So looking in the middle, I've got the f of x inside of the g. So here's my f of x function. We said f of x is equal to this. So this needs to go inside of the x for the g. So let me show you what that looks like. I have the g, right? Okay, and I want the f of x, so that this function, 3x minus 5, needs to go into the function of the g, into the x of the g. So instead of writing x, I now have that f of x. So this was telling me what to plug in for the x. Well, I plugged in this whole function. Okay, so this went right into this x. So if you wanted to see the step written out, I would say take the middle, which was f of x, and plug it into the x of g of x. Okay, then we simplify. All right, so g of f of x is, sorry, that should go here. G of f of x is equal to 2 with the 3x minus 5 in there plus 8. And then we just simplify from there. So I'm distributing 6x minus 10 plus 8. And then you keep simplifying, which is 6x minus 2. So again, we wanted to find g of f of x. We took the middle, we took f of x, that function, which is 3x minus 5. We plugged it into the x of the g. Okay, so there was the x of the g. We plugged that in there, and then you just simplify. So g of f of x is 6x minus 2. So we put these two functions together, and we created a new function. So now what I want you to find on your own is f of g of x. Okay, so now you're going the other way. Take the middle g of x, take that function, and plug it into the x of the f. And then simplify. And then you can pause the video while you work that and then come back and check. All right, so plugging in 2x plus 8. So the f function was 3x minus 5. I plugged the g, because g is in the middle, and plugged it into this x right here. So there's 2x plus 8 minus 5. And then you just simplify, and you should end up with a final answer of 6x plus 19. All right, now here's another example that looks a little different. Instead of the x, we have a number. So in this case, we have a 3. So we would say g of f of 3. So we just have kind of an extra step here. But we're still working from the middle, from the inside out. Okay, so we're going to take the 3 and plug it into the x of the f. That's the first thing I want to do. So that 3 went into the x of the f right here. And we simplify. Oops. We get 9 minus 5, which is 4. Okay, so that's f of 3. So we found this middle part. Now we need to go outside again to the g. So now whatever we found here, that f of 3, now we need to plug it into the x of the g. So this is going to be plugged into the x of the g here. 2, and instead of the x, we write the 4. Okay, so g of f of 3 is 8 plus 8, which is 16. Right? So if you've got this number in here, your answer should end in a number, because we're plugging in for the x. And again, if you want to see a step written out, what we did here, the first thing we did was we took the 3 and we plugged it in for the x, plug into x of f of x. Okay. And then the next thing we did was we took f of 3. Sorry, this is really messy. Let me fix that. So we took the f of 3 that we found, and then we plugged it into the x of the g of x. Okay, so working from the inside out. 3 goes into the f function, and then whatever that is goes into the g function. So take a minute again to just find f of g of 2. Okay, you can pause the video, work it, and see if you get the correct answer, and I'll explain it in just a minute. Okay, so you should have, you should have f of g of 2, hopefully, or we'll see if you got it right. So remember, we're taking that 2, plugging it into the x of the g, so we'll plug the 2 right here. And that gives me 4 plus 8, which is 12. Okay, so that's g of 2 is 12. Then I plug that into the x of the f right here. So 3 with the 12 here, minus 5. That's 36, minus 5 is 31. So f of g of 2 should give you 31. So don't forget to work from the inside out. Okay, if you're still stuck, make sure to go back and watch those examples until you start to get it. Don't forget to write your questions in your summary. Try to think of some upper level questions that might be asked on a pre-AP test, if you can. All right, that's all for today. Thanks for watching and see you soon.